anti-racism statement that can be found on our website. And now I'm going to do our roll call, and it looks like Rich Walke, Jean Meixner, Callie Cass, Jessica Staton, and Sonia Volt and myself are all present. Jacob Galfano has an excused absence this evening. And so that is our roll call. And right now I will be calling for a motion to adopt our agenda.
Can I have
Second.
my question?
Yes, ma'am.
That we take a look at our loan terms this meeting. Is that going to be pushed back to May or June?
No, that is on the agenda under 5B.
Oh, apologies.
No problem. So can we have a motion to adopt the agenda? I think Richard seconded it. I didn't hear anybody motion for it.
Motion to adopt the agenda.
Okay. May I have a second?
I'll second the motion to adopt the agenda.
Thank you. And has the Finance Committee had the opportunity to look over the minutes from the March 16th meeting?
Yes, and I move to adopt as presented.
I'll second the motion to adopt the minutes.
Thank you. All in favor? I think we have
Aye.
to vote on that. Aye. Okay.
Or by acclamation is fine too.
By acclamation, yeah, the minutes are adopted. That moves us to item number 3 on our agenda, announcements. Are there any announcements?
Well, I see we have a new staff member, and I don't know who Nancy is. Is she a new staff member also?
Nancy is our NNE chair. She is here to with a
talk about
proposal for our UNILECT fee. So that's item 4A. And then Rich, were you here at our last meeting? Okay, well, thank you, Jessica. You're on mute, but let's introduce our Deputy GM and Operations Manager, Rich Johnson, and welcome him to the Finance Committee.
Yeah, I just wanted to see how things, go to every committee that I could before the first couple of weeks, see how things are going, see the faces who are going to be, who I'm going to be, executing the plan for. You know what I mean? So just wanted to put you guys say, oh, there's a new person. I'm that new person. So if you see me walking around Sudden Valley, please say hi. Let's talk, chat, whatever, if you got time. And yeah, just looking forward to improving the lives of the residents of Sudden Valley. So
thank you very much. Thank you, Jessica, for calling out that. He's been in other meetings with us, so I just assumed that he was in last month's Finance Committee meeting, but yeah, he was not. So welcome, Rich Johnson, not Rich Walke. Rich Walke has been here for a couple of months now. He's your senior. So
raw.
So that's our announcement. Any other announcements? All right. Well, I am going to, under continuing business, give the floor to Nancy Alianak. She's our NNE chairperson, and she has a capital request for a UNILECT contract. It was in our agenda packet for everyone to look over, and she's going to answer any questions and tell us a bit about this request. So Nancy, I hand the floor over to you.
Okay, were we going to start with a motion to accept
Yes,
it?
ma'am.
I'm not in your committee, so I can't really make it myself.
Yes, ma'am, we can do that, and then I'll have you do the discussion. So the NNE committee has approved the UNILECT 2022 AGM election services contract for a total of $16,467.35. So I move the Finance Committee also approve the UNILECT contract and forward it to the Board of Directors for their approval. So I am going to open up the floor for discussion.
UNILECT did our last two elections, and it was really delightful to have elections where nobody worried about ballot stuffing or so-and-so walked in with a big overcoat and had ballots in his pocket, and he walked out, his pockets looked a lot lighter. So that all ended, and to me, that was worth quite a bit more than $16,497. So I don't know if you looked at the contract, but for the past 2 times they did it, they didn't raise the price in the second time. So we're looking at about a 7% increase over the past 2 years, which isn't bad. That's about what the feds come up with in cost of living increases. The reason it was over budget, and our budget was 16,000, is kind of interesting, because if you compare the 2016 contract, or excuse me, the 2021 contract and the 2022 contract, you'll see quite a difference in the postage for the return. And that is because Unilect did not bill us for their high volume postage permit, but they gave us the high volume postage rate. Now, this was their error. It was $690 the first time in 2020, and it was $720 in 2021. And in 2022, it's $800, because that's what the postage is. That's what the post office charges. However, they did remember to put it in the contract this time, and of course will charge us. Now, there is a way to not pay that, and that is instead of Sudden Valley paying a return rate that's based on that $800 high volume permit, we can pay ordinary postage.
You can, I'm sorry, you could, would you repeat that last part, please?
Joel, was that Joel?
That
No,
was
Richard.
Richard.
Richard, sorry. If you don't want to use the high volume permit, we can pay the full postage rate, which is something like $1.45, I believe, maybe
Okay.
$1.42. It's one of those. For each piece of mail returned. If we pay the high volume rate, I think it said 69 cents for each piece of mail returned. The breakover would be about 1,027 returns by mail. And basically, if you look at the numbers, about 60% of our members use the post office to return the ballots instead of putting them in the ballot box that's
Right.
next to the admin office or voting the morning of the AGM. Very few people vote by floor, at the floor. So what it's going to mean is we'll look at how many candidates we have. On the day after Labor Day, the 6th, we'll know that, and we will let Unilect know. It will be our guess or choice or whatever as to how many ballots we think people will return. For 2021, we had a dismal turnout, and we would have done much better, just paying the flat postage rate. And in 2020, it was close. And in 2019, the postage rate would have been the oh gosh, the $690 high volume permit would have been what we wanted. So we'll just have to take a look at how much interest there is in the election and make that call. I think this is a great contract. They're easy to work with. They do a very good job and they're very helpful and accommodating for everything but one thing. And that's, we need to get our election manual amended to only give people 2 days to withdraw their candidacy than the 5 days, because the 5 days puts us to the Monday instead of to the Thursday, which means Friday, we can get them a draft booklet to work
Jess,
on
I
that.
think, Jessica, you had a question?
Yeah, I wanted to just clarify just a couple things. So this is coming to us. I'm assuming it's already budgeted in operations. It's coming to us because the price has gone up. Is that right? Am I getting that?
Because we're over budget by $497.35, I think it is. And that's because we didn't know about the high volume postage permit.
Right, that makes sense.
And neither did Unilect until I started asking questions. But
I
they had
appreciate-
already put it in, so it's not like I messed up and gave them a hint.
I appreciate all the work that you and the committee have done on this. I have just the only other question I have is this coming out of capital or is it coming out of operations?
I believe it's operations, but
That comes out of operations.
Ops.
Right,
Okay.
okay.
I might have made a mistake and said capital.
That's right. I move that we accept the new contract. It's a very small increase and I appreciate all the work that's gone into it. And I agree, past elections have been fraught. So if this makes everything easier for the NNE volunteers, I'm happy to support it.
thank you.
Yeah, and
Nancy, any other questions or? Okay.
I just wanted to, I had several questions because this is the first time I'd seen this. Excuse me, I have a cold, I apologize. But you answered all of my questions, Nancy. It's obvious a lot of thought has gone into this. You knew exactly what we wanted to know. I truly appreciate that. Thank you.
And the comment I would make is we have a lot of experience with these folks. Unilect, I mean, they've done our past elections and, flew through that without any controversy or any issues at all with regard to count, so far as I know. So I think that bodes well for a positive vote for them.
Any other questions or comments for the discussion? All right. Should we
Second,
call?
Jessica's motion.
Okay, call to question the motion on the table. So it sounds like Jessica already motioned for it and Callie seconds it. All in favor?
All right.
Approved by acclamation. Thank you very much, Nancy, for your hard work. And we appreciate you taking the time out to come to our meeting this evening and present this to us.
Well, anytime, and thank you for passing it.
All right.
So
And
I'm
on to the
going
board
to
meeting.
log off right now.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Nancy.
Bye-bye.
All right. So new business. So last month, we had a little bit of a conflict at our meeting. So I just wanted to go over some group norms for the group, just so that everybody's on the same page. And just to give us a reminder of why we are here. I know when I asked everyone to be part of the committee, I sent out the finance committee roles and responsibilities, and also the long range planning committee's goals for the community, which are things that we need to take into context when we're voting on things. What does our community say was important to them as a whole? And so just a brief reminder of what we're here to do. We're here to serve our community. We're here to do that in a respectful way. We're here to discuss, debate, agree, and agree disrespectfully. And we vote on things, and majority rules in the voting. We're also here to be responsible for the financial oversight to safeguard our assets and assure legal compliance in our community. And we're here to ask questions and understand the reporting based on our current practices. And so what we're not here to do, and this is not my interest as the treasurer, is to change or overhaul any way that our finances are reported for Sudden Valley. Our financial reporting has been approved by our auditors for the last 2 years that I've been a treasurer, and they've been labeled materially sound. So I encourage the committee to try to learn the existing reporting mechanisms as they are. Are there different ways to do it? Yes. May there be better ways or worse ways? Yes. But the ways that we are reporting them are working, and it's been consistent throughout Sudden Valley, and it makes it very easy to compare past reporting with existing reporting. And we're not here to do everything that's listed under the Finance Committee responsibilities, because that's a lot of work. So, and general words of wisdom of somebody that's been on this committee for 1.5 years is, and this is group norms that I use in my training. If you're a person that doesn't talk very much, I encourage you to talk more and ask questions. You're here on this committee because we want your perspective. If you're a person that has a tendency to talk a lot, perhaps listen more so that we can balance out the voices of the committee. And as leaders in the community, as it advised with social media, you have freedom of speech, but just I stay away from posting about financial things in Sudden Valley on Facebook. It keeps things, that's a full-time job. So if you choose to post something about finances, just be ready to be full-time. But I find that it's just best to keep social media for exactly what it is, social things. Questions on any of the group norms that I've just shared with everyone?
You had mentioned that we're not here to do all the functions listed in the Finance Committee charter or job description. I'm not sure what we're using these days.
Yeah, it's
Are there
from the
specific
bylaws.
elements that you're referring to in that respect?
Like I said in the group norms, we're not here to overhaul things or change the way anything is done. So we're just here to monitor expenses this is for me on the chair, monitor expenses, protect our homeowners association assets, ask questions as a representative for our community members. And like Nancy just came and made a presentation about Unilect. Do exactly what you did there. Ask questions, make sure that it makes sense, make sure that the person's done their homework. Nancy's a great example. She's very thorough. And just to make sure that we're not throwing good money over bad, and that we are approving things or not approving things as we see fit based on what our community has identified in long-range planning and the things that were identified in that survey. Does that help clarify things, Jessica? Okay. Anybody else questions or comments? All right. Item 5B, the SURF loan financing information. I am going to hand that over to Joel because I believe you got some numbers for us on what our loan rates are. And the interest here was looking at those rates to see if we need to consider refinancing to save association money on that loan. And take it over, Joel.
Okay, so basically with the SURF loan, so the pertinent details of this would be, and you can see it on the February financial statements, the balance sheet, first page. So the SURF loan as of the end of February, $1,095,000. So that's the balance. The interest rate is precisely 4.62%. Maturity date, meaning our last payment date would be December 18th, 2028. So the thing that obviously the important thing is the 4.62% interest rate. And, we've done some inquiries like with banks, and, banks will charge an origination fee and in a couple of cases, 1%. And with the prevailing interest rates going on right now, it's currently over our 4.62% interest rate at hand. So at this point, it wouldn't really be feasible to even entertain an idea of refinancing this loan.
And interest rates are climbing due
Yeah,
to
they are.
inflation.
Yeah.
Due to inflation.
Yeah, like the Feds are raising the rates. We're probably looking at possibly like a 5.3% rate or so.
Mhm.
For residential, I think for commercial, it's over 7 right now.
Yeah,
Mhm,
right.
mhm.
So,
Yeah. So it's fixed at least until 2028 though, right?
oh yeah, yes, it's totally fixed through our
So-
payout date.
What would be the balloon amount on the loan at that point, do you think?
Well, there's no balloon amount, meaning in 2028 it's gone. It's just paid off. So we're making monthly payments every month. And then at the end of 2028, we're done.
And how much are the payments?
Well, the payments are approximately like $16,392.69 to be exact.
So balloon payments are on adjustable loans. I don't
Not
think-
always. There's sometimes on commercial loans because commercial is a lot more volatile than just somebody moving into a house and living there for 30 years.
Mhm.
I always understood it.
But fixed loans are fixed loans though.
Right.
That's right. Yeah, meaning the
That's why
payments stay
usually-
fixed or interest rates are fixed.
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay.
So
Any other questions or comments on that surf loan
just give me-
financing?
could I have a few minutes or a hot second here to?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, thank you.
But while you have a hot second, I'm also asking for other committee member questions.
Sure. Oh, yeah. No, that's absolutely fine.
Anybody else have any questions or comments on the surf loan? Joel, thank you and staff for gathering that information and bringing that back for us today.
Sure. Yeah.
It's always a great idea to look at loan rates, but due to inflation, interest rates go up to balance things out. So that looks like a pretty decent rate, all things considered.
I think my question is since we had close to 3 million in reserves, did we want to consider paying off the loan and saving us about $50,000 a year in interest expense? That was my question. And so that, to me, that's the discussion piece. And there's pros and cons, and there's also a lot of moving parts to that. So I'm certainly not proposing it at this time, but I think it should be something that the committee might consider if they want to do 6 more years of, tens of thousands in interest. That might be something to have on the table.
Okay, I got 2 hands up, so I think I'll do Jean and then Sonia.
Yeah, I think that, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, I think that's a good thing to think about. My question would be, how would this impact our long-term planning financially? Because I think there's quite a bit in the works that need to be done around here. So it would be really important to look at how paying down that loan is going to affect the long-term planning of Sun Valley.
Thank
Yeah,
you,
and Jean, I mean, like, I was actually just about to mention what Jean just got through saying. So when we do our capital budgeting for SURF, well, we always start with the beginning of SURF balance, and then that works its way in, possibly 5 years out, 10 years out down the line. So if we did take at this point, like a whole $1 million away from it, that would definitely affect that sort of planning. I mean, it's not that it can't be done, but it becomes a real material factor at that point.
Sonia?
I think those are, oh, sorry.
I think a lot of it's been addressed. I was going to say, yeah, thanks, Jessica, for bringing it up. I think it's a legitimate question. I've had that question a couple of times in the past too. But yeah,
but Jean has a valid point in where we are right now, especially there are a lot of moving parts right now that we're having to address and then going into budget season. So maybe once we get through, addressing all of these, these crises, emergency repairs that we've had to deal with, plus the ongoing builds that and repairs and refurbishment that we had already in process planned for this year. Once we get through that and start setting the budget, things will start to stabilize and we'll be in a better place to be able to reevaluate that later in the year. I think would be a good time, and who the heck knows where anything's interest rates are going to be.
Right.
But they're probably going to be a lot higher. And, but right now, as Joel said, they're fixed. And, but I definitely think it's smart for I like hearing the finance committee ask those kind of questions, because it is something that we should always look at the investments and make sure that these things make the most sense for us. But right now, I agree. I think we got to get through this next stage and then, readdress it a little bit later, maybe. That's all I want to say.
All right, Callie.
Thank you.
I am simply going to agree with everybody. I think it was a very good question. I think Jean had a very good point. It may not be the time to look at it right now, but I think we would be better prepared if we had some kind of analysis to look at maybe in a couple months. It'd be really great to see what that comparison would look like. So if we could kind of put that on the agenda for a couple months from now or something, that'd be wonderful.
I'm just tossing this out there, would that analysis be perhaps be in the form of the why do I always draw a blank on this word? The reserve study.
Right. And how would that be impacted versus paying off the loan and saving that interest over time? Because that if we save that interest, that goes back into operations for the other things. So
sure. Yeah.
I would just like to see kind of what that impact would look like versus the other way around.
Yeah, I think that we're looking at what you're looking at, something maybe third quarter to address or review, because we've got to, the reserve study hasn't been completed, right? And then we'll have the budget planning. So there's a lot of things that will be happening. So by third quarter, we'll be in better shape to be, or late third quarter, I would say, is probably the better time to say, let's review that if you want to do it like that.
That's like probably October.
Well, I'm just thinking that we at least need to get through the budget season, and have all those pieces in place, because there'll be capital planning pieces, the audit. The audit will have been completed, obviously. And so we'll need to review that and the reserve study. So I'm just trying to get through all of those key, the things that we need to look at to weigh out
information.
Yeah. So
thank you, Jessica.
I just wanted to point out, it was actually Sonia's report that there were things on the reserve study that probably would come off, that led me to think that having done that piece of work, we would have a better sense of what our actual reserve needs are.
I think we took the stuff off the reserve study or off of our planning last year, unless there's more. But yeah, for sure, I agree that having the information, the most updated information for us to make those determinations is key.
Yeah, the capital planning, once that portion is done, of course, and that comes up naturally during the whole budget process. It'll be a part of the budget document, but capital planning, that's what's really going to show us what we're potentially looking at year to year at ending SERP balances. Meaning to make something like this a possibility.
Yeah. So all coming.
Yeah.
Great discussion, everyone. And
then the cost savings part of it in terms of prepaying it, of course, that's the easiest part at that point.
We love to save money. That's what the finance committee is looking for.
Yeah.
Any other comments on that before we move to the February financial statements? All right, well, hearing no other comments or questions or seeing no other hands raised, I'm going to hand the floor over to Joel to screen share and talk about our February financials.
Okay. I take it, I mean, obviously you can see the balance sheet here.
Yes, great. Anybody need it larger for the 40-year-old plus
Me.
eyes?
Let's just see here.
Partly that I'm on a laptop, so my screen is not ginormous.
That's good. Is everybody good with that size? Right, thank you, Joel.
Good.
And of course, I'm starting out with the balance sheet here. The good thing is there's nothing exciting going on in the balance sheet in a good way, you know, from January. There are no real huge cash movements going on outside of the ordinary. Now, I did point this out in January, but I'll just point it out again in case anyone's wondering. But that Surf Capital Reserve Holding Cash Fund. So here it is right here, that 1.157 million. Let me take it off. Oh. Okay. Anyways, this Cap Reserve Holding Cash Fund, this 1.157 million. So this is the 2021 column, and the column to the left is the 2022. So these numbers on the right here as of December 2021, December 31, 2021. Numbers here on the left as of February 28, 2022. But that's the Capital Reserve Holding Cash Fund at the end of 2021, essentially. And then this 1.165 million or so right here, this is where you're actually seeing me take it away from this Capital Reserve Holding Cash Fund and then transferring it into for now, I'm just calling this a Surf Capital Reserve Holding Cash Fund. And so that's where it's sitting right there, like on the balance sheet. So that's why you see this number dropping to zero, because it's in here now. And when I get to the next page, or once I get past the income statement, I'll explain briefly why there's obviously a difference going from 1.157 million to 1.165 million. And there's the SURF loan that we talked about before, 1,095,000. That's the balance as of December 31, 2021. Obviously, the balance will keep going down month to month as we keep paying this thing. Now, going on to the income statement. Here. Okay, so the bottom line for the income statement is total. Okay, so our net income is 85,817 at the end of February. So this is year to date at the end of February 2022. Then last year at this time, meaning when I say last year, I'm saying February 2021. So last year is approximately 114,190. So that means we're better than budget this year by about $3,400. Last year we were better than budget by about 38,230, right in there. So we're in terms of being better than budget. So we're basically right in the ballpark somewhat where we were last year. The big difference, which is really good, is this collection rate, 92.9%. So keep in mind, we're budgeted for the whole year of 2022 to have a 93% collection rate. Now, January and February are always, we start out the year always at the lowest point. That's just how it goes here at Sudden Valley. And then we steadily climb up from there and then finish out the year at our highest point collection rate wise. So in terms of, so at the end of February 2022, we were real close to 93%, real close to budget. Last year at the end of February 2021, we were 86.8%. And then we finished out the year at the end of 12/31, let me move this window, at 96, or excuse me, at 95.5%. So just keep in mind, or 96.8%, sorry, that was the 2020 number. So even though at the end of February 2021, we were at 86.8%, we steadily climbed and then finished out the year in 2021 at 96.8% interest rate. So right now, we're already tracking higher than where we were last year at 92.9%. Now, I've already calculated the collection rate for March, since March is done, obviously. And so our collection rate for March has gone up even since February. So the collection rate is actually year to date at the end of March, 95.7%. So So we budgeted for 93% for the year, and actually comparative wise, at the end of March 2021, we were at 91%. So collection rate wise, we're doing really well. And as I pointed out before, for every 1% that we finish out the year above what we budgeted for collections, that's an additional, for operations, that's an additional $22,000 that goes into operations that we did not budget for. So that's a good thing. So in terms of collection rates, everything is looking very optimistic for 2022 so far. Okay, so now you're looking at, this is the next page. So this page is really handy. This is the reserve cash balance, an activity page. Like I turn to this page quite often if someone asks, how much money do we have to work with or whatever. I mean, obviously I know how this page gets constructed and what numbers go into this, but so this is showing you the SURF roads, all your major capital reserve, all the capital reserve funds, then your two operating reserve cash funds, emergency ops, UDR. And then, so you can see here that SURF, like this top line, this net available cash flow 31/2021, that will trace right back to the balance sheet, that 2.688 million. If I go back to the balance sheet, there's that 2.688 million for SURF. And then that 2,967,562. So there's the 2,967,562 at the end of February 2022. And then basically the numbers down here are giving you projections. So, if the dues came in at 93% collections, we pick up 1,051,000 more dues. The material line items, the SURF loan payments. So we're looking at that much, 164,000 pretty much in SURF loan payments. And obligated expenses, holdings. This is everything the board has approved through February in terms of capital purchasing. So that 527,881, let me find it here. So like if I went to the capital spending, so there it is, 527,881 in terms of the green dots are all the open projects, reds are just everything that'll be closed and put on the 2021 balance sheet. So then this is giving you, and then there's the board recommended carryover balance, in this case, 600,000 for SURF, which tells you net usable cash, which you could kind of figure on having available at the end of 2022 as everything stands right now, 2,731,136 for SURF. And you'll see for roads, it's 2,878. Mailbox, 99,717. SURF is up, mailboxes, that's up, roads. SURF is up about 823,000, roads is down about 480,000. But keep in mind, these are always, components of what the board has approved to spend. So at any time that they approved a project, then the obligated expenses would go up. It's just assuming the whole thing's already, like set aside, reserved, and then subtracted from the balance. So approved projects reduce how much you have available. Now here's that's SURF capital reserve holding cash funds. Well, there's capital reserve holding fund. This is what it looked like at the end of 12/31/2021, that 1,157,885. And then here's where you're seeing this entire amount basically being transferred away and then dumped into the SURF capital reserve holding cash fund here. Now we do have some transfer fees collected. Now 7,433. So these are transfer fees related to home sales in late 2021 that then just got to us in 2022. So that's essentially what this is making up, the 7,433. But then when you get to the bottom, I'm basically saying I'm setting it aside, I'm holding it aside. So I'm saying that none of this is available just in case we end up refunding everything basically in the refund program. And UDR is down about 45,000 from so when I say down, I mean from last year at this time, February 2021. But this is also a component of things that are authorized to be spent out of UDR or cash collections that come in, prior year recoveries. You could think about it that way. So basically how this is laid out is you're going to see, this is the income statement that's laid out by department. And so the first page will be, this is just for the month, current month. But since we're so close to the beginning of the year, we might as well just go to the year-to-date page and focus on that. So this is giving you January 1 through February 28, 2022. And then there's that 85,817, that net income before UDR. If I went back to the income statement, there it is right there, 85,817. But this statement is showing you how it's broken out by department. So that's the handy thing with this statement. So this is kind of showing you which department is responsible for making things better, making things worse, so to speak. And then you can see, like, basically the two real departments would be ACC security, maintenance. And then what's really going on with maintenance would be, like weather response, other repair and maintenance, especially stuff due to the flood, contractor type services. ACC security, that 28,075, worse than operations. Thing that's really driving that is hazardous tree removals. That's what's really contributing to that number. Golf, in terms of, I'll hit on golf. Golf will be right now our biggest revenue producing department that contributes in terms of to operationally to the bottom line for operational wise. But golf through February, we had 233,260 in revenue. Last year, we had 215,716, meaning at the end of February 2021 year to date, which means revenue is better than last year, year over year by about 17,544. Total expenses for golf, which will be the actual salary benefits, at 72,932 plus all the other expenses, 48,386. So that comes out to 121,318. Last year at this time, they had, real close to about 113,000 in expenses. So their expenses are more than last year by about 8,400, but keep in mind their revenues more than last year by 17,544. So bottom line, their net income for golf, 111,942. Last year they had 102,804 net income wise. So they're doing better this year than last year, as we would expect, since their revenue is higher than their expenses. They're better than budget by real close to 35,000. Last year they were actually better than budget by real close to 42,000. So they're fairly somewhat similar to where they were last year, tracking a little better in terms of total net income. But I would say those are, for the most part, those are the big highlights of the financial statements. If anyone had any questions about these.
Yes, I have a question.
Richard, go for it.
Great.
Oh, and I forgot to mention, I think a couple of folks asked me, it was inquired to me as to whether or not Joel was a contractor or an employee of Sutton Valley. So for those of you that don't know, Joel is an employee of Sutton Valley. He's not a contractor, and he's a CPA. So just wanted to throw that in there. I forgot to add that when we were talking about stuff earlier, but go ahead, Richard, and then next Callie.
Yeah, Joel, when I went through the financial statement, I noticed this. As far as the income statement, ACC, is ACC accounting, or what is that? ACC, what does that stand for?
Oh, that's basically the security department, meaning like tree removal, all the ACC committee type stuff, like the permitting.
I guess committee
But
designated
isn't it
Yeah, so
my
architectural
question had to-
control? Is it architectural control?
committee.
Yeah.
Yes. Mhm.
Yeah, so in the past, like architectural control, security, they were all in one. But so meaning like when we write checks to our security services, that comes out of this department as well, ACC security.
Well, my question has to do with salaries and benefits. And I know last month there's a difference between the budget and actual that was fairly significant. And if you look at it's about a 35 to 44% difference in this month on security for the ACC/security salaries and salary benefits. Is that still part of the accrual process you explained to us for January?
Actually, I'm going to pull up in a different document. Okay, so let me Now, the good thing about these big statements online that's on the Finance Committee website is, like, if someone wanted to drill down even more into the department, they could literally just scroll down. And so, like, here's the ACC security income statement, basically. So this is giving it to you on the GL line item. And now you were talking about, Rich, let me just go right to that section. Okay, see, now you're talking about salaries and,
Right.
okay, yes. And then you're talking about like this difference right here, why the salaries are more right here.
That is correct.
Yeah. So basically, so I know exactly what this is. Actually, George's salary, I noticed when we were closing out the month, I noticed his salary in 2022 is getting into the admin department. So then what you're seeing right here is a catch-up journal entry to pull his salary back away from admin and then to dump it back into the ACC security department. So, and it just all got in as a catch-up into February.
Okay.
So that's what's driving that.
Okay. Well, thank you.
Yeah.
Callie?
Yes. There was a question asked by email, and it surely piqued my interest. So I was wondering, on the balance sheet, there was over $500,000 decline in the value of capital assets last year between December and January. And I understand that, you know, the net is going to go down based on depreciation, but that's a pretty large difference. I mean, it's almost half of the total value. So I was just curious, or not half the total value, half of 1%. I was just curious, did we sell assets? What was that decrease based on?
Yeah, so basically, so with fixed assets, and of course I sent an email also out to, it was Linda who originally asked this question, so I sent an email to her and also CC the Finance Committee, since I think all of us were on that chain anyways. But so basically, when it comes to fixed assets, you'll always, so in how fixed assets go up is when you, and of course, and I'm just saying this just generally, just to everyone, meaning just a quick kind of accounting thing. Anyone out there watching, if they were just curious how fixed assets get affected. So fixed assets go up when you have fixed asset additions, when you go out and you buy something. So we go out and we buy like trucks or land or a building, and then the fixed assets will go up in that situation. And then from that point forward, they will come back down again through depreciation when you depreciate stuff or the useful life of an asset. So like, for example, the only asset we had was a truck. We bought I'll just make this real simple, $100,000 truck with a useful life of 10 years. Then in year one, at the end, we'll make it simple. We bought at the very end of the year. So then at the end of that year, then we would expect fixed assets to go from 0 to 100,000. Then at the end of the second year, we would expect fixed assets, since there's a 10-year useful life, then that truck will depreciate 10,000 per year. So then the fixed assets would then drop to 90,000. And then the year after that, it would drop to 80,000 and so on and so forth. So you would always expect it to go down, unless during one of those years, we also went out and bought something else. Then the fixed assets would go back up again by whatever, we bought another $100,000 truck. Then it'd go up another 100,000 in a sense. So basically, in any given year, if your acquisitions, your fixed asset acquisitions, anything that you add to fixed assets, as long as that is not at least equal or exceeding, now in that example, as long as it doesn't, if the acquisition doesn't equal or exceed 10,000, then you would expect fixed assets to drop year by year. And, going back, just double checking, when I looked at, what have we added in terms of fixed asset depreciation, came out very close to like the difference here, like really, really darn close. So like, for example, if I go and we look at what's our depreciation expense through February. So you'll see the depreciation expense through February is 171,617. So that right there so the fixed assets from the beginning of the year will drop down by 171,617 just by that alone. And I also said in the email too, fixed assets. So this is typically the very last thing that we close out before we really just button down that trial balance and send it off to the auditors. And we still have some fixed asset additions, and this will actually probably be done pretty quickly or pretty shortly here now at this point of the year, to where we'll close out anything that was really closed out in 2021, and then we'll end up truing up depreciation, so to speak. So then we'll go back and look at, what exactly should depreciation have been during 2021. Then we'll do a catch-up true-up journal entry, and then that'll kind of become the new depreciation amount per month from that point forward in 2022.
Okay. Can I appreciate that explanation. I did see the emails. I totally get how depreciation works and how that's presented. I guess my question is, it was a very significant decline. And so I'm just wondering what if there were any specific sales of assets or what other items made up that specific decline from December.
I'm going to quickly just look at what.
And I think probably when we see that true up, that will help answer part of that question, certainly.
Actually, I'm just going to pull up the January statements right here. I thought I had it right next to me, but so the fixed assets dropped.
It was.
What period were you talking about, from what year to what? Was this December 31, 2021 and December 31, 2020? Is that?
Right. It went from 12,306,000 to 11,501,000.
Okay, let me pull that one up. Yeah, so it went down here by about real close to 656,000.
Mm-hmm.
So then just looking at this alone in terms of the February statements, in 2 months alone, we've already have real close to 172,000 in depreciation expense between January and February alone. So that continued out throughout, just even looking at 2022, you see how much that would drop 2022 fixed assets. Meaning if I just decided I'm not going to make any more journal entries, we're going to expense all the fixed asset additions from here on out. We're changing our policy for whatever reason. Then you can expect fixed assets to drop every single month, real close to about $86,000.
Okay.
So that's really what's driving it.
Okay. So what I'm hearing is we didn't sell any assets.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. All right.
No.
Great.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yes. So this is literally just a component of additions and depreciation.
Okay. Thank you.
Oh, sure.
So
Yeah.
Jessica, then Jean.
And by the way, Callie, when I was talking about the fixed asset thing, that wasn't for your benefit, because I know your background. That was more for anyone listening, like out there in the audience, like someone who doesn't know accounting as well.
Well, I appreciate
Thank
that,
you.
Joel, because Joel and I have worked together with my education background and trying to make finance committee educational for our community members that may not have a finance background. So
yeah,
I appreciate that. Jessica, then Jean.
Yeah. Joel, do you need a minute to go back to February?
No, this is February right here.
Okay. I'm just curious if you could help me understand why the net income on the income statement doesn't match the net income for current year on the balance sheet.
You're talking about this?
No, I'm talking about the 85,817 net income from operations, right? Is that the right number?
So so right here, these two numbers, I mean,
no, just 23.
Yeah. I mean, I know what number you're talking about, but I was just going to say, so this 23,360. So now it's got the reason why this one probably looks a little tad bit confusing is because the rec special assessment component is broken out. So this 41,540 plus this 23,360, these two added together will equal your 64,900 right here.
Okay.
which is the real bottom line of operations, which it's basically operations is operations, and then the UDR component of it as well.
Thank you.
Sure.
Jean?
Gene?
Yeah, I just going back to that capital reserve fund. Now that was the money that was from sales, right? From
Oh, this one
sales
right
of
here?
lots.
Yes. So this,
Yeah.
yes, exactly what you're seeing here would be, it's that 1/4 of the 1% of the buyer
Right.
transfer fee. Yeah.
Right. So do we know what's happening with that yet? I'm
Oh,
just
yes,
curious.
yes.
So
Actually,
The board is giving an update on that tomorrow. Do you want to wait for tomorrow? Sonia, as a board member, do you think that's a discussion that should wait for the board meeting?
I think Joel can give just a brief summary of what we're going to talk about tomorrow to the finance committee.
yeah, sure, I can do that. So tomorrow, so basically the board will choose tomorrow some third-party servicer agreements or going in front of the board for them to choose one of them. So basically, so the rebate program is going to be, the plan right now is to do the rebate program through a third-party servicer. So these are people who specifically specialize in like legal settlements, refunds, that sort of stuff, lawsuit type settlements, like national type companies who are, you know, this is all they do for a living. They're really good at this stuff. So meaning what they would do, I'll just quickly explain. So what they would do is they would do the whole thing for us, meaning they'll set up the website. People would end up submitting their information through them. People will have like multiple options in terms of like how they would receive a payment back, whether it's through a check or through an ACH. Even a couple like would even do Visa prepaid cards or PayPal or even Amazon type cards if someone really wanted to do that. I don't know why someone, I mean, maybe some would, but so basically, you know, they could even end up calling them like a call center type service as well. They'll send out all the mailings, advising people, you know, what to do and so on and so forth. And so that's basically, that's the update that we'll be giving the board tomorrow. So if everything goes well, the board will choose one of these third-party servicers, and then we could be like, some of them said, yeah, they get the green light. They could be up and running in literally 30 days or so, or less possibly.
And how do they compensate? They get a flat fee or how does that work?
Oh yeah,
You know?
so they have given us bids like you could think of it for the most part like up to certain amounts. So like you know, going back and looking at through our records, so we have about approximately 1,800 people who have paid this buyer transfer fee since the inception of the program, which is in 2016. So they built their bids around 1,800 people. And like one in particular, you know, is setting up to be like bidding it to be like a 9-month project, meaning to give people, you know, possibly up to 9 months, you know, to get this thing turned in and done.
Yeah.
So, I mean, once it's in their hands and they're running it, it'll be a well-oiled machine at that point.
So what is the fee? Is it like,
So the board's going to discuss that tomorrow. So we'll need to wait.
Yeah, that's why I was trying to, I was trying to cage it because a lot of this is going to be discussed tomorrow, but you did hear part of it first. You got a preview in finance committee.
Okay, well,
So
thank
tune
you.
in tomorrow, folks.
Okay,
Yeah.
thanks.
Thank you, Jean.
Yeah.
Jessica, did you have another question?
I did. I was just following up on my question for net income. So I added up the 23,360 and the 41,540, and I'm getting 64,900.
Yeah.
I'm
And
up
that's
$21,000.
Yes. So what did you get? How much?
64,900.
Yes, the bottom
Yeah,
line there.
There's the 64.9 right there. Am I still screen sharing? I guess I am. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
we can see it.
yeah. So
Yeah,
the
it's right there under grand
64,900
total activity.
is right here.
Okay, got it. Okay.
Any other questions about our February finances?
I did have one question that was kind of an ephemeral one, maybe for later discussion, but I noticed we have 600,000 plus in operating reserves. Do we know how many number of days of cash on hand that represents? And has the board set a goal for days of cash on hand?
You're talking about this? Or wait a minute.
My
what-
screen
okay,
is
let me go
covering
back
it.
to the
The
balance. sheet.
holdover, is it the holdover?
No, it's on the operating reserves fund column.
Yeah, okay.
It's 663,248. And
Yeah,
my
you're talking about this. Yeah, so this 663,248 is a combination of the emergency
Right.
ops and the UDR.
right. No, my question was how many days of cash on hand did this represent? And had the board ever set a goal, like 90 days or 6
There
months?
is a policy of 2 months.
And it
Mm.
is this meeting the goal in the policy? Do you know? Does anybody know?
It's coming close. I don't have I can't see the numbers to tell you the truth.
Mhm.
Joel, can you answer that real quick?
Well, like going back and looking at the financial statements here. So like on a typical month of like February, we have, real close to 300,000 right there in February. So between these two, yes, we would have approximately 2 months worth. Now, of course, also another thing too, let's just say if it really got down to it and we're relying on that to make expenditures, we would at that point as well be making cuts. I guess it would be fair to say, like at that point, if we got to that, we're relying at this point of having to use this cash to function. At this point, we're going to obviously really streamline some things and become a lot more leaner.
Right. I just was curious if the board had set a goal, if they had set 90 days, do we need to be aware that we've got 60 and maybe we should think about that, I don't know, in the next budget process?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Oh, yeah.
Any other committee questions before I open the floor up to our community? Jessica, you're on mute.
I know, sorry.
That's okay.
When I printed out the financials, the department detail statements weren't in there. And so is there a different place I need to look for those? Because I really like those reports.
Yeah.
A lot of questions for me.
Actually, let me screen share again real fast.
Were they
Can you
not
just,
included this month or were they?
Well,
They're actually on the website.
Yeah, so I went to the website and I printed the addendum and the agenda, and I got everything but those
Yeah.
ones. So I just wasn't sure if there was a different place I should be looking.
So, here so in the finance committee website, of course, then a person would click here, 2022 finance committee agendas, and then they'd print the agenda there. But what gets into the agenda will just be that abridged version, that 6-pager. But then if you keep scrolling down on this website, there's the link for the full financial statements.
Can you go back up to the top? Because I don't think I keep trying to find this site and I keep not finding it.
Actually, I think what I'll do, I'll just go right to the homepage and start from scratch.
So if
So
you
then-
go to committee, over on that left-hand column where it says committee minutes
Yeah,
and
this-
agendas,
The
and then
purple
it'll,
radio button.
well,
Yeah,
how were you clicking?
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
And then,
yeah, he was
then
there.
then clicking on finance committee here. And then it'll take you to this page. And then actually, if you just, this is where it is.
Oh.
Here, this
Oh,
finance
it's down
committee,
there.
yeah, media archive.
Oh, okay.
And then it's pulling you literally, now you have access to all the financial statements.
Got it. Okay. Thank you. That helps.
Sure. Yeah.
That was a good exercise to do that because it does get, it's not, there's so much information on our website
Yeah.
that it's really hard to find what you need when you're looking for something specific. We have a lot of information on our website.
Yeah.
Thank you for mapping that out for us, Joel.
Sure.
And in the absence of any additional committee questions, I am going to ask for John to join us and open the floor to any of our, I believe we have 4 participants that may have questions about our February finances.
Yep, 4 attendees. So if anybody wants to jump in here at this point, I'll bring you over to the committee meeting. Just use raise hand in Zoom and we can move you right over. Linda's got her hand raised. I'll go ahead and bring her over here. Hi, Linda. Go ahead and unmute when you're ready.
Can you hear me, everybody?
Sure can.
Okay, so I only have one question, and it's about if you look in the monthly reports. I was gonna say, I was looking at the marina, and I know they're scheduled for a lot, but what their income is and their budget amount is the same. And I wondered why that was. Their income and their budget amount is exactly the same.
Is this for February, Linda?
Yes.
Okay, Joel, do you want to screen, can you screen share maybe and so we
Yeah,
can see what
I
she's
can.
asking for the visual learners in the group like me?
So I've got this right on the, so actually what Linda's really referring to is the budget is actually 0. And so that's why the variance looks exactly the same as the actual in this case. And the reason why this is because so like the marina income is budgeted to come in a little later in the year, meaning when I say later, I believe actually April is because the billings had not gone out at this point yet. So in terms of, so the revenue, the timing of when the revenue is budgeted to come in is more targeted. So that's why the actual and the variance look exactly the same, because the budget is actually 0 for, because right now it's, as far as the financial statements are concerned, they're not budgeted to get anything yet.
Okay, I thought that was why. So when will we see where they actually go up against budget to where it gets divided out a little bit more? May or June?
Well,
'Cause
let's see here.
When do they have to have all their money in?
Yeah, it's either, I want to say it's either April or May. It's right in that.
So the final date on everything is May 15th. On the kayaks, the
Okay.
canoes, and the boats. That's the cutoff.
Okay, I thought that was why, but I was gonna ask, because I know otherwise, I think in past years, everybody's divided it out every single month. And then there's this, it really skews the
Right, yeah,
financials. And I thought that was why, but I just
Yeah.
wanted to make sure.
sure, yeah,
That's my only question.
okay,
Thank you, Linda.
Okay, thank you.
thank you.
All right. Thanks, Linda. I've gone ahead and returned you to the attendees, and I have Leslie with her hand raised. I'll go ahead and bring you on over now, Leslie. You can go ahead and unmute when you're ready.
Okay, thank you. Kim, got a question for you. We've been talking, or you guys have been talking a bit tonight about budgets and so on and so forth. And we're coming up, it's already the end of April. And we should be starting into budget season at this point. And I'm wondering, Kim, could you explain to me what's the budget process going to be this year? Is the staff is going to present, create the budget and then bring it to the finance committee before they do to the board, or how are you going to handle it this year?
So yeah, this year, our general manager is going to be leading that process with our managers. So Dan's not here tonight. I would toss that over to him too, but that is something our general manager is going to work with our management team to initiate that process. And I think that has been initiated. We're starting out with a calendar and working through that. If I am missing anything, Sonia or Joel, feel free to add in, but Dan Pike will be leading that process with our management team.
So it'll be a similar process like it always is, Leslie. The accountant will put forward the historical numbers for each of the department heads so they can review it. Right, this year we have really strong department managers that actually handle their own budgets. They're hiring and firing. So they will be adept at that, and they'll have Joel working with them to actually look at what has happened historically in their departments, and then forward looking as they create the budget moving into 2023.
So we're expecting the staff, the management staff actually, to come to the finance committee as they have in the past and explain their budget so that you guys can really get a good idea, a good handle on what's going on.
Yeah, that
Oh,
happens in about June or July.
I
We
think
have
with the
that.
question, I think what I'm hearing is you're asking if staff is actually going to present. I think that's something that they'll discuss. The management team will discuss together with Joel and the general manager and the operations manager to decide. Last year, it was determined the management team preferred that Joel did the presentation to the finance committee and the board, and that's how that came up. So, we're going to trust them to make that decision this year too.
Did I help answer your question, Leslie?
I think it does, yes.
Thank you.
All right. Thanks, Leslie. Have a great evening now. All right. Anybody else want to jump in here? All right. That might be everything for tonight.
All right. Well, thank you everyone for your time this evening. And I will see you all. We'll have a short turnaround because our meeting was postponed by a week, but staff is doing better. So thankfully everyone is well. And so next month's meeting will be on the third Wednesday at 6:30. And have a good evening, everyone. Meeting is adjourned. Do I need
Thanks,
to
Joel.
move to adjourn
Thanks,
the meeting,
John.
right?
Move to
Move to
adjourn.
adjourn.
Second.
Thank you. Good night, everyone.